everybody. Hey, it's me, it's Leslie, and my friend Zazoo Plazz, my higher self. She's the advisor on this project, this Zazoo Plazz report. Welcome. If you're new here, I show up every Sunday or Monday, different times, same place. You know, I rant a little, I report a little about things that have happened in the past week and stuff that occurs to me from reading the scripture readings for the day. Used to be Catholic. It's still, that's my sort of foundation, just to let you know where I was coming from. But I think they call it, I take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, stir it all up in a big stew and serve it to you as my personal philosophy. Take it or leave it. With a little salt, a little salty, humor tossed in. It's different. You're not gonna find any other Zazoo Plazz. You know how you go on YouTube and you look for spiritual stuff, and then you get those cheesy AI chosen one things with the guy talking. You found this because you're chosen. Oh, and by the way, before we get into it, like and subscribe. And you can do that if you want. I appreciate it, but I'm not going to strangle you. I'm not going to hold out if you don't. Just keep coming back. If you like me, come back. Subscribe. Knock yourself out. If you don't, you don't. Skin off my nose. Anyway, I'll just keep showing up here because the universe blesses me. If I come here and speak my truth, which I am, totally raw and authentic. Look at me. I just cut my hair. I save a lot of money by not going to the salon. What was I talking about? Yeah, it's a big con. My former spouse, who listens to this report every week, lives up at the Plazz HQ, I call it. He knows. I come home, the more money I spent at the damn salon, the less happy I would be. My mom used to cut my hair in the 70s as a kid. And she cut her hair, and she was beautiful. And she cut my dad. Well, my dad didn't have much hair, so she didn't have to do much there. But, she cut my hair, put the bowl on there. No, she did a good job. The bowl cut was, a popular haircut when I was a child. And that gave way to I had several haircuts. Just bear with me for a moment. I had when I was born, I had this, little, it always curled right around the ears. And then when I was about 3, my mom took me to a barber shop. I don't know why I guess there weren't a lot of salons, for ladies. There were grown-up lady salons, but they didn't have all these kids haircut places or super cuts or, I used to take my boys to cost cutters, There'd be all kids in there, back to school time, I just send them in there. Did them both done at once. There's no way in hell it's gonna. I tried cutting the oldest one's hair once, and he didn't like it. He fussed and he fidgeted, and I almost cut his ear off, and I said, that's it, I'm not doing it. But my mom cut my hair. So she took me to this barber. I've got to backtrack. It's Mercury retrograde in something, Leo. Bear with it. It'll be worth it. It all comes together in the end, folks. Okay. Sometimes I leave loose ends and then I never go back to what I was talking about. But anyway, it's humor, folks. It's humor of the highest kind. So, it was a traumatic, it was more traumatic for her than me because I was 3. I remember seeing the pictures and they cut my hair like a boy. she said they cut it all off and it was like really, really short. Like my aunt used to wear. My mom's was a little longer. My aunt had super, super short hair, my mom's older sister. But they cut it, and she said people thought I was a boy, unless I had a dress on, which, in 1968, most little girls wore dresses, but I also wore pants, like jeans and whatever, and I had little pantsuits and jumpsuits. So maybe I wore a dress, once I started school or to church, but I still wore like shorts and pants and stuff. And I was that what would they call that? When you're like sort of, no, not anthropomorph, when you're like gender neutral or whatever. I was very much a little girl, but I looked, boyish with the hair. And of course I had the name Leslie, which is, a lot of men have that name, so it could have been a boy or a girl, So here I am in this nether world. I was thinking about that. So my mother was so heartbroken, she let it all grow out, and then once I started, first, here it was kindergarten, here first grade, it was down to here, and I had pigtails with the little yarn bows, and, this is appropriate now that I think about it, because the topic today is vanity. All right, so this is appropriate, isn't that funny? And my ascendant's in Libra, so I always look pretty. People thought I had a very feminine face and always very, pleasant, and people thought, oh, she's pretty. So I had this feminine aura about me, but I had hair like a little boy. So here, 56 years later, I'm shaving my head, but yet I like pretty things, So there's this idea that women can, just define their own standard of beauty. What makes you feel alive and pretty and light? Personally, I don't like the heaviness. A lot of hair makes me feel heavy. I have combination skin, so it's, it makes my skin shiny and greasy, and I just don't. I like the feeling of air on my neck for now, and then until I get sick of it, and then I'll go back to having more hair, but nobody's going to tell me how to wear my freaking hair. I had enough people dictating that first, and then so I had, the shag gave way to the bowl cut and the Dorothy Hamill, and then high school it was just kind of like parted in the middle with barrettes, and it got longer and longer till high school. It was like down to here when I graduated, and then I got it sort of layered, and then it was the big hair 80s, that got bigger as the 80s went on until it was like here, because my hair was, very curly. So if it got humid, it went, and so and then the 90s, I used to pile it up on top of my head with a bit scrunchy, and then when I got married, it started getting shorter. Every year it started getting shorter and shorter after I got married. Until, here we are. After I wasn't married anymore, then I did this. Say what you will, whatever. I have Lilith and Aquarius, whatever. This damn pen is leaking. What the hell is with these pens? This was always my favorite pen, and now they run out and they leak. And okay, rant over, Zazoo. Get to it. Get to the Bible. Okay. Rant. Okay. Oh, we saw the Ozzy Osbourne funeral procession. And I also saw on YouTube, they had the royal guards at the palace or whatever playing one of his songs. Yeah. Forget which one it was. I don't know. I'll put it in the comments if I think of it. But it was really good. Wow. So we have retrograde planets. I don't go into, there's plenty of astrologers out there. And plenty of tarot readers with, like I said last week, I just, there's so many. There's just a few people who pop up, so I go, oh yeah, that's it. So if you're watching and I've liked one of your videos, it's that it really hit home, because I don't like that much. So I like to support people, but only if it resonates. So when I get likes, it's only meaningful to me if I think that to know why it hit home with that person is I don't want tons of likes. Like there's a lot of creators out there, they got a lot of followers and a lot of likes, and they're all out at the Comic-Con things and fans and their nostalgia, and I'm not going to do that. That's a waste of my time. I mean, whatever. If you're doing it, it's fine. It's fine for those people, but I'm not going to do it. Why? That's not my thing. Now, if there was a New Age fair con, I mean, there's a reason they call them cons, right? Anyway, I know it's conference, but anyway. I go to the astrology fair, and I'm in my element. I like buying crystals and, talking to astrologers and, did you hear about this? What do you think about that? Getting Reiki, getting a reading. That's my Comic-Con. That's my fan thing. Anyway, so yeah. Oh, damn it. I shouldn't buy stuff online, especially if I'm not really sure about what I'm getting, because I gotta go again to return some stuff this week. I have been looking for the perfect pair of wind pants to I have this one pair of Champion, very lightweight knit, like pants, like Ozzy used to wear on the Osbournes, with the stripe down the side. They're just the right weight. And I keep buying them online on Amazon. And they come and they're heavy. Okay, yeah, I know, cut the rant. And I'm so disappointed, and then I have to go and return them. And then I need some shampoo. Instead of just buying it one bottle of the stuff I used last time that's just, it's like scalp, really nice, lightweight stuff. I saw this shampoo, and it said it promised it was all natural, and it was gonna make your hair really thick and stuff. And then Owen Wilson comes on, and he starts, and I just I like Owen Wilson. So I'm like, before I know it, I got it in my cart, and I said, oh crap. So because it came in the mail, and it's like these really big, heavy bottles. I'm like, I don't have room for that. I'm going to try to put it on I have a little white, shampoo holder that I got at Job Lot that just goes over my the shower head, just the basic one in the apartment here. And my shower, bottles are shampoo bottles are very, just the tea tree, cheap kind you get at Walgreens or whatever. And they're lightweight. These things, like a frickin', 10 tons. I said, if I put those in there, I guarantee one of those damn bottles is going to fall off and hit me in the head. Or both. It's going to find a way, because the thing is kind of behind me, I had them fall off before. I said, that thing is going to, hit. I can see it. So I'm like, well, then I'll have to put it on the side of the tub. And I hate that. I hate stuff on the tub, because it gets all gross and you got to clean it. It's just, no. So I know I still like you, Owen Wilson, but I just can't. It just felt wrong. So I'm bringing those back. And my kid, I get up this morning, there's a bag on there's in the box. Then there's a KFC bag over my doorknob. And I said, oh, I think I know what this is. My kid, the one who just graduated from UConn, he brought over, there was a nice folder. The kind that the portraits come from the school. But these are really nice. And there's one for my dad, for his papa, with a little note, thanking Papa for everything he's done. And it's nice. And then there's one that says, Mom, this one's for you. Thanks for all your love and support. And I couldn't do this without you, or something like, really, oh, And it just said, oh God. And then I look at the picture, and there he is. I'm not going to show it, but he's holding it's the picture they take right after they get their diploma, and they go and they stand at this backdrop, and there's, a photographer there. So we were watching when all this was going on, so I got like pictures, but I didn't get the up close. So we paid for the, the nice portrait picture, and it's got, the Yukon backdrop and him in his cap and gown, and, he's all in his nice tie, and he's smiling ear to ear, and he's got his, holding his diploma. And right in the middle, his dad is laughing right now. Right in the middle of his lip, like right there, is this big stud. It's a big stud. A silver little thing. And I said, I'm trying to scrape it off the picture. I'm like, is that... Oh wait, that's on him. Because he's got his earring, the big one that like fills up the whole black. It fills up the whole. It's like all empty in here. He's got them, and then he's got tattoos, but those weren't showing. But he's got the piercing. He's got several, but he kept the one in that is going. It's like right. It's like. Yeah, Aries, right in your face, right? So he's a rebel. He's a warrior. He's like got his forestry degree, firefighter. There he is. He's like, this is you. It is, Gen Z, Pluto and Sag. He's like, I'll go along with the system as long as it gets me to where I want to go, and I'm going to do it my way. So. I offer that just for a little humor. You parents out there, you might be able to. Okay, pins, retrogrades, Pluto, Saturn, Neptune conjunct in Aries, Mercury is in Leo retrograde, and Chiron also retrograde in Aries. There's a lot of backward motion going on. I'll just, maybe not rant about that today. All right, Ecclesiastes. What I want to say about that one, so the first reading is from Ecclesiastes in the Old Testament, Ecclesiastes. There was a song, and it was released, 60 years ago, the week I was born. That was the number one song, Turn, Turn, Turn by the Byrds. Byrds with a Y. And it's based on Ecclesiastes, the book of Ecclesiastes. And if you follow human design, you might not know. Every person has a cross. In the human design system, some have a right hand cross and some have a left, which left is more service to others. Right is more of, focus on knowing yourself. Doesn't mean that you're not, going to offer service, but your primary focus, it's more of an individual, like you're here to really know yourself, So that's what I have. I have the right hand cross of the four ways. And it's funny because this song, Turn, 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 is about the seasons, and everything that, turn, 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 to everything there is a season. And that was the song on the charts when I was born in the first week of November. You can't make this stuff up. So it talks about this guy, Kohelet. It's with a Q. So some people say this was this particular book was written by Solomon, King Solomon. But then other scholars have said, no, it was written much later than that. And there are actually three voices. And this is perfect with, I just realized, with the song of the week. There are three voices. And I'm a triple split in human design. So this is like me. So it's about this guy, this Kohelet person, who's, but there's three different persons that it's spoken in these readings today. This particular segment is about vanity, right? So, let's see. And the idea is with this Koel, it's not just about wisdom. It's about the journey, okay? So, everybody dies, the wise and the not so wise. And, going by this reading, all the overthinking, it's vain. It's vapor, which means vapor. It's going to evaporate. All the things to have a season, right? I wrote a poem about this when I was like 12. So it's like the wind. It's a waste of time, right? So people who overthink this passage are wasting time in his mind, in his eye, So, it says in here, all things are vanity. You work all your life. That's Mars and Virgo. This is a Mars and Virgo kind of a critical kind of, that's Virgo. And, time is, what am I slaving away for, Virgo is critical, very self, looking at things detailed, very critical, very work-oriented, health, service. It's about, service as well as selflessness, So, not vain. Virgo is not vain. Leo can tend to be, very kind of, and we're in Leo season. The lower aspect of Leo is rather self-focused and can be vain. So, it says all things are vanity that are of the earth, It says you work all your life with sorrow and grief, you're up at night, you can't sleep, and just to leave money to your heirs, right? What you want to do is, it says, work toward God's plan for us, not towards earthly things that are going to pass with us, but rather things of the other, of God's, of the spiritual world, the kingdom of God, for things, God's plan for each one of us, right? Those are the things, time is nothing. Time is a human invention. And that's Saturn, right? So, you want to focus your attention, set your priorities, right, on the things that will bear fruit in eternity. It's kind of hard for people to grasp because, today, especially the focus is so much on, it's vanity. It's like, Instagrammable. Everything has to be, people have no time for anything that requires deeper, inspection, deeper, not just thought, but, heart reflection from the heart, right? And that's where you get the meaningful things in life come from the heart, not from the head, not from the mind. The mind, once you have set your direction with your heart, then the mind can be useful, to tell you, things to do to get there. But really not making decisions based on your mind, right? What are people going to think? What do they think of me? There's all these readings, tarot readings there. And I'm just as, prey to them. I fall prey to them. But more from an observation. I don't get dragged down. I observe. I go, what is all this? What do they think of me? What do they think of you? What are they saying about you? Who cares? That's an example of, time wasted. Or all these people pulling tarot cards telling you, what do people think of you? Who cares, right? The occasional tarot reading, what are your spirit guides saying about you? Now that's something, that's in, connecting with God and asking a heartfelt question and, doing your own cards and doing it, learning how. That's what I've been doing. My mom taught me how. Anyway, okay. Move on, Zazoo. You're getting to be too much here. Okay. If today you hear his voice, harden not your hearts. So here we go again with the heart. making decisions from the heart, you know. It says, have pity on your servants, Lord. Number our days aright. It's about setting your higher priorities, right? This is the time. Go within. Find out what makes you light up, right? And that's your clue. Follow that. You know, don't follow what's trending, what some influencer is telling you got to do. Or, you know, just because somebody is posing with celebrities doesn't mean that they necessarily have your best interests at heart. You think, they've got you thinking intellectually that they care. They don't. They care about their own, and there goes my fridge. They care about their own image, their own advancement, their own money, you know, that they're going to leave to their kids. They don't care about how, you know, they don't care about the higher things, you know, the spiritual things. They're full of it. If they, you know, whatever. That really bugs me. Okay. When I find out that somebody that I thought was pursuing higher, you know, ideals is just in it for shallow things, I get really annoyed. Okay. All right. Okay, Zazoo, stop it. Number our days of right. Yeah. Prosper the work of our hands. I love that. You know, and prosper the work of our hands. That's Virgo. And, you know, it with Chiron, Chiron's an Aries, but Chiron, you know, associated with Virgo can be healing, right? I have Chiron in Pisces, and that's on the Virgo-Pisces axis, so I relate to that. Okay, so the Colossians, Paul, if you were raised in Christ, think what is above. In other words, leave the you know, the matrix, the trappings of the lower world behind, and, you know, you're raising up to become, you know, toward a higher consciousness. Focus your attention now. Step up to that new consciousness, right? You know, dodge your old life. So, you know, that's, go within. Find out what's illusion and what really matters. And get ready to set down a structure so that you can build from that higher place, not from the lower place that's going to fall away, you know, and vanish into the air. I'm getting hungry. I gotta go have my paleo hot chocolate snack. It says to, you know, refrain from immorality, you know, evil, evil desires. You know, not that you know, have to live in poverty, you know, give away all your money, but it's where is your attention, right? You can have money, but is your intent in what you're doing to become, you know, it's like the reading today is from Luke 12, and it's about, you know, the guy who, you know, rich man, he has a big harvest, and he's got to, you know, he's got to build extra barns because he doesn't have enough room. You know, it's like the guy who has too many cars and he's got to buy a warehouse. My cousin had a big house. He's downsized. You know, he's a couple years older than me, but he had like this house with three car garage, because he collects cars. His business is cars. You know, he said he's got his own garage, and so he's a hard worker. He's got a lot, you know, money, but, you know, he had to buy like a house with more garages so he could fit his cars in there. You know, he works hard, so, you know, and he doesn't have any kids, so that work is his life. But I'm just saying, I'm using him as a fun example. But, you know, it's like the person who has a lot of money and decides maybe they're gonna use their money to build a big ballroom, storeroom. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, oh, it's a joke. Lighten up. Settle down, Sally. Okay. So you have to, you know, so God says, this is a parable that Jesus was telling. Somebody asked him, um, Jesus, tell my brother to share his inheritance with me. Jesus likes to tell parables, little stories to illustrate, the point. So he's like, Jesus says, who made me your judge, mediator? That sounds like Libra energy, opposite Aries. Yeah, he says, and then he says, guard against greed. Even if you're rich, life does not consist of possessions. In other words, the best things in life are free, and it's true. If you can be happy, whether you have a lot of money or hardly any, then you've figured it out. Not figured it out, but your heart is in the right place. If you can just act the same and be happy, regardless of what your bank account balance is, if it's up, if it's down, you're thankful for being able to do the things that you really are meant to do. And you might not get paid as much for those things, but you'll get paid in other ways. If you're doing what lights you up, what you're put here to do, you're not going to starve. God's going to make sure you're going to be okay. But it's just getting to the point where you trust that. Okay, so this is the Scrooge thing. So Jesus tells the story of the rich man and stuff. And he says, God says, fool, this night your life will be taken from you, and what good are your things? Thus will be in those who store up treasure for themselves, who are not rich in what matters to God. This will be what happens, when it comes down to it. So it's just kind of a warning, So there's two songs for today. I said, one came out in 1972 when I was a kid, like 6, 7. So it's more of a boomer song, but it's a classic. And the other one came out in 93 when I was like 27. So it's kind of a dance, more of a Gen X song. So I'm going to put both. The first one is You're So Vain, obviously. It was a no-brainer. Carly Simon. It was released the week of my birthday, 11/8/72. And it's, about a self-absorbed lover. And there was all this speculation as to who were the men, right? And she wrote it over a year, 73, early 73, it went to #1 in several countries. 74, it was nominated for Song and Record of the Year and Top Female Pop Performance. So I love this song. When I was a kid, though, I had a different picture in my mind. You're so vain. And I guess it was Warren Beatty was one of those. The original name of the song was Bless You, Ben. Can you believe it? So people really don't know who the other two guys are. She said it's about 3 different men. And it's just like the book of this Colette guy. It says it was 3 different voices, 3 different persons who wrote the book of Ecclesiastes. This is more like there's sort of a narrator, and then someone who's speaking like in the second person, and someone who's speaking in the first person, their own wisdom. So there's 3 voices, and there's 3 men in this song that it was based on, right? But she sings it as if it was one person, but it's really a sort of blending of 3 different. Really cool. And she talks about this guy with the rakish hat and the scarf. These are all things that really happened, So look at that. And interesting, she talks about taking the Learjet to Nova Scotia to see the eclipse. Now, there was an eclipse in 1970 visible on the east coast of the North America, and 72, one that was just over Canada, east coast of Canada. So I thought that was interesting, because I remember when I was little, I remember there being an eclipse, and it might have been one of those 2 when I was like 5 or 6 or 7. So that's interesting. And the second song is Mr. Vain, which came out on April 16th, 93. That was certified gold. It went to number one. I think it might have gone to number one. Yeah, check that one. It's a Eurodance song. But I mean, if you want to dance, put that song on, click on it down here. Culture Beat was a German dance band. That was a real Gen X song. So yeah, I just remember like dancing to that song. It just really had a good beat. And it's, call me Mr. Man, call me Mr. Wrong. I'm insane, insane, insane. I know what I want and I want it now. So there's that. There's that vibe, which is very different from You're So Vain. But it's the same idea, the same, the same idea. So listen to those two songs, and I'm going to go wash my hands. This damn pen is leaking all over me here. Yeah, so I gotta go. I'm starving. Me, moi, moi, moi. Okay. So I will see you. Have a great week, and I'll see you next week. Same place, different time. Take care. Bye bye.